to keep jobs in America, taking aim at China, kind of, and defending his wealthy cabinet picks.
This as a new conflict of interest crops up. The next commander-in-chief will maintain some control and remain executive producer of the reality show Celebrity Apprentice, and he may also collect a paycheck from NBC while serving as the President of the United States. We're just 42 days away from Inauguration Day. We have it all covered for you, so let's begin with CNN's Sunlen Srutiny live in Washington. Hi, Sunlen.
Good morning to you, Allison. Well, this is real uncharted territory for a president here, certainly raising a lot of questions. Once Donald Trump takes the oath of office, the nation will have a president who will still be part of and still have his name listed in the credits of a reality show. All this as Donald Trump hits the road in full force, defending the people he's chosen for his cabinet.
Reveling in a crowd of thousands in Iowa.
Do you like it so far, everybody?
President-elect Donald Trump defending his cabinet appointments.
I want people that made a fortune because now they're negotiating with you.
Touting the success of some of his wealthy picks.
It's no different than a great baseball player or a great golfer.
Including Carl's Jr. and Hardee's executive Andy Puzder to head the Labor Department. Puzder is a staunch critic of paid mandatory sick leave, is against expanding overtime pay and increasing the minimum wage.
States have every right to decide what the minimum wage should be. I've been opposed to minimum wage increases that kill jobs.
Trump saying in a statement that Puzder, quote, will save small businesses from the crushing burdens of unnecessary regulations. Meantime, scrutiny is growing over Trump's pick to head the EPA, Oklahoma Attorney General Scott Pruitt.
He's a climate science denier.
At his third victory rally in Des Moines, Trump echoing Pruitt's call to roll back environmental regulations.
And we are going to end the EPA intrusion into your lives.
And doubling down on campaign promises, including immigration.
I've used the expression extreme vetting. Extreme. Oh, it's going to be extreme. There's going to be doors on the wall, big, beautiful doors.
Trump also calling for improving U.S. relations with China.
They haven't played by the rules. And I know it's time that they're going to start.
As he formally rolled out his pick to be U.S. ambassador to China, Iowa Governor Terry Branstad, a longtime friend of the Chinese president.
The man who knows China and likes China. It's better to like China if you're going to be over there. Do we agree?
All this as all eyes are on two big announcements coming next week. Potentially the president-elect's choice for Secretary of State and a news conference on Thursday to address potentially backing away from his family business. But the incoming president is keeping his ties to Celebrity Apprentice, the NBC reality show he launched nearly 15 years ago. Sources tell CNN Trump will stay on as executive producer of the show and continue being paid as he is in the Oval Office, raising even more questions about the growing list of conflicts between his business dealings and the presidency.
And a transition official confirms that this morning at Trump Tower, the president-elect will be meeting with Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, also with West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat, potentially being considered for a cabinet post. Then Trump will be spending most of his day on the road. He'll be in Louisiana for the state Republican Party Get Out the Vote rally there, and on to Michigan, Chris, for another stop on his thank you tour.
All right, thank you, Sunlen. Joining us now is Republican Congresswoman from Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn. She's vice chair of the Trump transition team. This news of the president-elect staying on as the executive producer of The Apprentice. Tell the American people why they should not be concerned about this apparent conflict of interest.
He has a great team around him, and I'm certain they are telling him exactly what he can and cannot do, and we're going to leave that for all of the attorneys and those who deal with ethics in government employees. We're going to leave that for them to work out in the decisions that they bring forward. And
is it a legal question?
Obviously.
Is it about what he can or can't do? Is it about what he should or should not do in terms of befitting the office of president?
It is about what is allowed and what Mr. Trump would choose to do and how he would approach it within that code of ethics and conduct. And so we're going to leave that for them. I know, Chris, it's not that word that he would stay on is probably not something that would make you happy. But I think what we have to realize is that Mr. Trump comes from a different place into the Oval Office. He is not someone who has been previously in elective office. The American people are ready for change. They want the government to run in a more business-like fashion. You are seeing that reflected in the choices that he is making. They want strong leadership who is going to get this country back on the right track and pay attention to national security and job security.
One more quick beat on this. I often see answers that personalize a criticism as if it's just about me as a pretty obvious deflection. So you're saying it doesn't bother you at all that Donald Trump is going to stay as executive producer and have maybe corporate responsibilities at the same time that he has governmental ones? Doesn't bother you at all because...
I know that there are strict requirements around the Code of Ethics and the filings that are required for anyone who is serving in elective office at the federal level. I trust that those who are handling that for Mr. Trump and for the Office of Government Ethics are paying close attention to every word, dotting every I, crossing every T. And my faith is that they are going to do the appropriate thing and give him the right guidance, and then the correct decisions will be made.
You know, one of the things that you've been pretty strong on over the years, I want to see how it's going to manifest now. And it goes to our constitutional reckoning of the Article 1 and the idea that you make laws, not the president. You were very critical about this with President Obama, these executive orders, these runarounds. We're hearing a lot of the same tactical approach coming from President-elect Trump, that he will do, he will do, he will do, he will make happen. Where is your feeling now about pushing back on the executive that you make the laws, not the president?
I think you're going to see respect for the separate divisions, co-equal branches of government. And I am pleased that Speaker Ryan has been so forthright in his work that we would recapture our Article 1 powers and that we in the House would make this a priority. And so much of what Speaker Ryan has done has set that forth. Our Republican conference has been diligent as we have looked at the Obamacare replacement, as we are looking at tax reform, even the Ways and Means Committee under Chairman Brady. Next week, they're going to be in D.C. working on a tax reform plan.
But you've not said anything recently about your concern about the president-elect thinking that he can do things that are really within the purview of your job as a congressperson. Is this something that just bothered you with a Democratic president, doesn't bother you as much with a Republican president?
Respect for the co-equal branches of government is something that I treasure, and I know that you're going to see the executive branch work within their lane in the appropriate manner in working with the legislative branch. You know, it's so interesting. We sent an email to who we thought was our White House liaison, and it bounced back. That shows you the lack of communication that exists between these two branches.
The White House calls that a reflection of the obstructionism from the Republican side of Congress that didn't want to work with the White House. Maybe you're showing some evidence of that.
No, we call it we've tried to reach out and the right person wasn't there, or we did not even know who to be in communication with. We had to go search it out when we were seeking to get information from them. So, you know, what we hope is, just as with any relationship that you ever have, that stability of that relationship depends on respect. And what we are hopeful for is that there will be a respect from the executive branch shown to the legislative branch. And that's something that we have things we want to get past. We want to get to the president's desk. We are pleased that he is working with our speaker in making certain that the agenda is set forth. We are heading back on January 3rd to be sworn in and immediately go to work. Leader McCarthy has said we immediately will go to work, and we'll work up until the time that the Secret Service closes and the Capitol Police close the Capitol to prepare it for the inaugural.
It'll be refreshing to see Congress get back to work for the American people, that's for sure. So a couple of questions about the cabinet. In terms of the recent EPA pick, the concern is that the Attorney General from Oklahoma is a denier of some of the science behind global warming. What do you know about Pruitt, and how can you reassure people who believe that it is scientific fact that man has a hand in the effects of global warming, that Scott Pruitt, as the EPA administrator, will not be someone who denies that basic science?
First and foremost, Scott Pruitt has respect for the rule of law, and he understands also the heavy burden that the EPA, by getting outside of their wheelhouse and past their mission, the burden that they have put on businesses. You know, at one point in a hearing when we were doing our oversight work for the EPA, I asked the administrator about cost-benefit analysis, and her response to me was they didn't do cost-benefit analysis because they were interested in the end product. Now, that tells us a couple of things, Chris. They weren't interested in the impact it was going to have on business. Now, we are all for clean air. We're all for clean water. We are all for efficiencies when it comes to electric power generation.
Can you be for
grid.
clean air and water if you do not believe that man has a hand in global warming? Do those go together?
Can. Of course you can be a believer in clean air and clean water and realize that when you look at global warming or climate change, as it is now popularly called, that it is cyclical, and you have to look at it in terms of centuries, not in terms of decades. And the science around that is not a settled science. And
well, the predictions you're talking about, I'm asking about something that you haven't addressed yet, which is the idea that our activities contribute greatly to what is warming our planet over time. Do you accept that?
I think that there are those that would say, no, it is more of a cyclical process. There are those that will say, well, we do think humans have something to do with it.
It's not some, though, Congressman. You know that it's an overwhelming scientific consensus on the notion of whether or not man-made activities negatively impact global warming. It's not an open debate within the scientific community. It is a big majority. Small group of people that resist it. On that level, not the predictions, not the cycles, not what to do about it. Those are all very debatable. I'm talking about
that and the participation of human beings. We want clean water. We also want productivity, and we want to make certain that efficiencies in our electric grid are realized, and we